In 1877, Edward de Lacy Evans' family was starting to worry about him. He was behaving very oddly. Eventually his brother-in-law took him into Bendigo Hospital, and they sent him down to what was then called Kew Lunatic Asylum. Today it's Willsmere. When at the asylum they tried to undress him and to clean him up, he resisted furiously, and in the course of the struggle they discovered that in fact Edward de Lacy Evans had a woman's body. The story was leaked to the press, where it became an immediate sensation, and from this point on the life of Edward de Lacy Evans unfolded in the full glare of publicity. Edward de Lacy Evans arrived in Melbourne from Ireland in 1856 as a female immigrant by the name of Ellen Tremay. She was remembered on the ship as being a bit wild, as grabbing at women, of dressing strangely, as telling anyone who would listen that she was really a man. Upon arrival, she entered, as many women did, into domestic service, in this case for a married couple up in Melton. When the husband was away, Tremay was asked to share the wife's bed for company, it was said. In itself, this was not all that unusual, but the husband saw something in it, and he horsewhipped Tremay and drove her out of town. Soon after this episode in Melton, Ellen Tremay adopted male clothes and a male persona, taking the name Edward de Lacy Evans. He had a winning way with women. He was in fact married 3 times. The first time was to Mary Delahunty at St Francis Catholic Church in Melbourne. Delahunty was a fellow passenger of Tremay on board the ship that brought them to Australia, and certainly knew that Edward de Lacy Evans was in fact Ellen Tremay. They were married for some years and then they separated. There was a second marriage to Sarah Moore, but she died not too long after. The third marriage was to a woman, Julia Marquand, with whom Evans had a child, a little baby girl. We might think that this was perhaps some sort of miracle, but in fact it was simply the case that Marquand had been unfaithful. She later sued the presumed father of her child for maintenance. After the exposure episode, Edward reverted to women's clothes, worked for a while in Carnival as a kind of freak show, such was her fame, and died in 1901.